Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. I've got some fantastic questions for you today. I'm really looking forward to jumping into them. But before we do, a couple of quick things. Don't go skipping now. You know I'm going to tell you to shop at KendoStar. That's my website. That's amazing. So go and shop there. For Kendo stuff, it's the best place to shop. But most importantly, yesterday I did the first ever the Kendo show live Kendo Keiko versus via Zoom, okay, if I can remember my words. It was great, really enjoyed it, and it was brilliant to see so many people in there with us. I really hope those that enjoyed it as much as I did. I hope you found it beneficial. I thought it was a really, really great event. We had some technical difficulties, shall we say, towards the end. Obviously, I'm very new at this sort of Zoom type stuff. I'm a bit rubbish with tech, to be honest. So yeah, I probably left us a little bit vulnerable to the sort of disturbances that we had, but that was all cleared up. We got back into practice and we finished it towards the end. It was good. It was about an hour long, and people from all over the world of all different levels. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, let me know. If you would like me to do it again, then let me know as well. I did really enjoy it, and I definitely would like to do it again. Whether I can commit to doing it regularly, I don't know. It was quite a big effort for me to do it, in terms of the sort of disruption it causes here at KendoStar for me to do all that. But yeah, obviously we'll experiment with times and stuff if we do it again as well. I know lots of people couldn't join because of the time zone differences, but I'm sure we'll figure something out. So let me know if you'd like to do more of those sort of online Zoom Keiko. Right, so let's get into these questions. I've got a new setup. Do you like it? Hopefully it looks all right when it comes out the other end. Wasn't sure if Kendo Rant was the right place for this. Well, here we are. So yes, it is. But I just thought I'd email you instead. So yeah, this question came to me by email rather than on the early access group. Just wanted to first say thank you for all the awesome content lately. The short form videos have been incredibly helpful. Great, I'm really happy to hear that. If you haven't seen the short form videos that I put up, by the way, go and watch them after you finish this, because there's some really great ones, and there's more coming soon. The short form ones are where I've just taken a specific waza and taught about them, like Men Suriage-ben or Men Kaishido, that sort of thing. Also, I'm super excited for my Vanguard Special Edition when it shows up. Yes, I'm sure it's going to be amazing. And it's really beautiful Bogu set, the Vanguard Special Edition. All of your equipment has been fantastic, and I know it will too. Me and my friend were part of your Zoom call Suburi practice. Great, thank you for joining. And until the trolls showed up, we absolutely loved it. Lots of little things we were doing wrong or not quite correctly you covered, so it was immensely helpful. Thank you. Good. That's basically why I wanted to do it. My question is, have you ever considered doing a private Zoom Kendo practice like this one, maybe using Patreon or something, where we can pay X amount to get access to it weekly or whatever. For a group like ours, where we don't have proper sensei, that kind of thing would be amazing and well worth paying for. Hope all is well, and thank you again. So, have I thought about doing like a private classes via Zoom? Yeah, I've thought about it, and lots of people have asked me about it. I haven't done it, and I'm not sure I will, because one of the things is I've been quite, I actually, when we first set up KendoStar and we first set up the Kendo show, excuse me, we wasn't sure what direction we were exactly going to go in. The Kendo show is something I'm super passionate about, and sharing my experience and my knowledge about Kendo is something that I really do feel strongly about. And like I say, in the beginning, we wasn't sure which way we were going to go with the sort of business model, and we did have a Patreon in the beginning, but I removed it because yeah, I mean, the main way to support my activities is through shopping at KendoStar, to be honest, in terms of that. But you know, I'm quite, I think it's quite a big thing for me that the content that I put out is as much as possible free and accessible to as many people as possible. Now, obviously, in my sort of, I guess, naivety with the Zoom practice yesterday, in order to do that, to make the sort of practice as open as possible, that left it a little bit vulnerable to people who abused it briefly. And that obviously won't be happening again. But in terms of doing like a weekly or a regular thing, sort of via Patreon, for money, I don't know. Maybe, but I don't know if I've got time for it, you know. And like, I don't mean this in a sort of bad way, but like, I can't, like, if it was private, so like say just one group of people paid for me to do, you know, via Patreon, whatever, to do a class a week, and then another group did, and then I'd end up having to do like 10-15 of these a week, just to sort of meet everybody's kind of demand, unless I charged a price that wasn't really fair. And then I think the only workable way to do it would be for me to commit to definitely doing a regular practice like we did yesterday, and for access to that to be behind a paywall for something like Patreon. Maybe. I don't think so. Even if I did do it, I still would do the open free one as well. If I was to continue doing this sort of Zoom type practice. I don't know on that. If I'm honest with you, I can't. I'm in two minds about it. If there's enough people, if there's enough people watching this video that would pay a small fee to do a regular practice with me via Zoom on on a committed date, perhaps like once or even twice a week, then let me know in the comments below. And if there seems to be interest, then I'll look into it. But at the minute, I am very busy, and I'm in a difficult position to commit to doing something like that, where I'm actually taking your money to do something, every week, or even more than once a week, without knowing exactly what the demand for that would be. So it's a little bit difficult for me to answer, if that makes sense. So if it's something people out there are interested in, let me know. Yeah. Next one. Having watched many Kendo rants, your enthusiasm for Kendo is clear. Apologies if you already answered this question in a previous Kendo rant, but how did you first get into Kendo and why? Well, I recently did a podcast with, is it Tokushikai? Sorry if I can't remember exactly the kanji for the dojo, but the podcast from Canada, which is great. They interview lots of different budoka about things, and I was a guest on that, and I talked about my sort of origin story. Is that right? I don't know. Do I have an origin story? I don't think I deserve an origin story. But well, basically how I got into Kendo and stuff like that, and a bit more as well about before that, and a bit about my background. But long story short, I was into other stuff before Kendo. I've always liked sword fighting and stuff like that because it's cool, and samurai and stuff, and Star Wars, of course. Somebody I knew, a friend of mine, had done Kendo in the past, but had since given up. And he gave me one of his old Shinai. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was cool. I thought it looked awesome. I'd seen Kendo in a video game back in the 90s. I went and searched on the early days of the internet when it was a dial-up modem. For Kendo clubs in Blackpool, which is where I lived and still live, there just happened to be one just opening a new Kendo club opening in sort of the following week in Preston, which is like it's about a 40-minute drive from where I was living at the time in Blackpool. Now, I don't live in Blackpool now, actually. KendoStar is in Blackpool, which is northwest of England. I live in between Blackpool and Preston in a place called Lytham. And now the interesting thing is I went along to that dojo that had opened then. It was, like I say, it was about a 40-minute drive. Loved Kendo, totally took me over, turned me into what I am. And coming back to the UK after sort of almost 10 years in Japan a few years ago, last year we finally, not last year actually, it's 2019, my wife and I re-established a Kendo club in Preston, which is where I originally started Kendo. So that was a really nice thing as well. So Kendo is back in Preston, which is where I originally started Kendo in the first place. Could you put a wish list button on the KendoStar website? It would be easier for the customers to navigate through the items they want to buy. Yeah. Okay. I can't say for definite I can definitely do that, right? Because I'm not a super amazing sort of coder, but I'm not very good at it at all. But I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can get our team to look at and see what we can get developed in terms of a wish list button. It shouldn't be too hard. They exist on other websites, so they should be able to exist on ours. I'll have a look into it. All right, leave that one with me. Hi Andy, a cultural question. I am quite interested in Kamon. They're the family crests, Japanese style family crests. And I've seen that many portray a rabbit on the moon or jumping into it, etc. The same thing can be seen in Japanese games and anime. What does a rabbit have to do with the moon? What's the origin of this imagery? Thanks. So basically, in Japan, this is from like a kind of folklore tale or a kind of like legend sort of thing, which is called the moon rabbit. I think they call it the Tsukino Usagi, which is the moon rabbit. And it's about a rabbit that lives on the moon, I think. I don't know that much about it. It's originally a Chinese legend, but obviously it's become popular in other parts of Asia as well. And that's where it's from. So yeah. I wish I could give you more info about it, but I'm not an expert on that. Where can big bulky guys find gear that fit? Brackets 3XL plus. Get in touch with us at KendoStar. mail@kendostar.com. We can definitely help you with that. We've done it before, and we will do it again for you. Just give us an email, and we'll definitely be able to help you with that. Hi Andy, I've recently received some KS Shinai in anticipation of being ready for when Kendo starts up again. As that may be a while, what is the best way to store them? Should I leave them in the plastic bags in a UK house in a well-ventilated room? Thanks in advance. Now, I'm going to read the next question as well because this one was posted under that one in reference to it. Hi Andy, to add to the question about storing and aging new Shinai, when getting new Shinai and leaving them to age and acclimatise for a while, is it better to keep the cellophane on or take it off? And is it better to oil them straight away or do it once they've aged and acclimatised? Thanks. So, right. Let me grab a Shinai so I can show you exactly what we mean. See if I can get one. There we go. There we go. Right. So when you get a Shinai from us, you'll see it's in a plastic bag like this. Okay. That's what we're talking about. Okay. So when you get a Shinai from us, if you are in the UK, which is where we're based, our Shinai are already stored here, so you don't have to worry too much about sort of re-acclimatizing the Shinai to the climate you're in because they're already in this country. If you're abroad though, if you're outside of the UK, particularly in an area where the climate is quite extremely different from how it might be in the UK, if it's somewhere that's very hot or very cold or very dry, then when you receive new Shinai, you're best to leave them before you start using them just for like a week or two, just to let them get used to the climate in your country. But before you do that, it is best to strip them off and give them a bit of an oil. Now, you don't need to take the handle off because that's quite hard to get off. But if you watch the video that I put out, quite an old one now, it does need an update. But I do show you how to take all the fittings off and oil the Shinai with the handle still attached. Okay, oil it and then let it dry before you put it back together. Put it back together. You can pop it back in the bag and then leave it for a couple of weeks before you use it. Or a week or two before you use it. That's the ideal situation. Now, obviously, if you run out of Shinai, you need one quick. There's not a lot you can do about it. But that's the best situation. Now, with that being said, if you're not sure when you're going to be able to get back to the dojo, the best way to store these is after you've done that, yes, give them an oil when you first get them, in any case. And then, as I just said, put them back in the bag when they're all reassembled. And the reason I say put them back in the bag is not because it'll stop them drying out or anything like that. If you leave these like on a radiator or something, or a heater, they're still going to dry out. This isn't a vacuum sealed bag yet. This isn't going to really do much for that, but it will keep them clean and it'll keep them free of dust. So I definitely recommend keeping it on while they're not in use. And then store them away. And then probably the best thing to do is when you know that you're going to start using them again and you're coming back to Keiko, get them out a week or two beforehand. Give them another coat of oil if it's been more than probably 2 months. Give them another coat of oil. Just repeat the process. Let them dry. Put them back together. And then I think they'll be okay to start using then. All right. And that's the best way. All right. So for the first part of the question, keep them in the bag and just store them somewhere where they're not going to get too dry. Yeah, probably that's quite well ventilated, but not nowhere where they're going to get too dried out. Definitely not near sort of radiators and heaters and stuff like that. If you live in a particularly dry climate, some people like to leave them in the bathroom of all places because of the steam from the shower and stuff. Now, you don't have to do that, but you don't want to leave them where they're going to get dry. All right. And like I say, just before you start using them again, probably a week before or so, give them another coat of oil and you'll get the best out of them that way. Okay. Next one. Hi, Andy. Is there any regimen that you can recommend to develop the kiai yell? Thank you very much. No, I get asked this a lot. There isn't really anything that I know of that particularly helps that. To be honest, it will come with time and practice, all right, and experience. You will get better at it. Trust me, you will. I mean, I'm sure there's like stuff that like professional singers do and stuff like that to kind of help with that sort of thing, but I've never heard of any kendoka that like seriously use those sort of exercises to improve that. So I never have. With experience, you'll get better at it. All right. So don't worry too much. Just shout. Yeah. I was at my local kendo shop in Japan and I saw a hakama with zippers for use in the restroom. These are a new thing, as I've never seen them before. I've never seen those at all, and I don't think they're likely to get popular. So yeah, I don't know about that. You won't be seeing them at KendoStar. I don't think. Wouldn't surprise me if they were for kids. Wouldn't surprise me for the kids. For kids, I kind of get it, but I don't think it's something that I can imagine taking off for adults. Next one, what's your take on the new kendo rules that could be seen in recent tournaments in Japan, i.e. engagement in Super Zeri for only a short period of time, leading to wakare every 3-ish seconds, and no hikiwaza? Well, I think that they are, if I understand right, I think they're a sort of temporary measure, whilst obviously to allow them to conduct Shiai, given the situation with the pandemic. So I think they've come about as a kind of, like I say, just a mechanism to allow them to get the idea of them doing Shiai sort of signed off and allowed. So I believe they're temporary. And if they let particularly the high school kids, which is what it's mainly for, if it lets them do kendo and do the Shiai, then I think they're a good idea in general. I don't know how effective they are at doing what they're supposed to do, but if it lets them do the Shiai, you know, I mean, these kids, it's not just kendo for them, yeah. So it's easy for us from outside, where, you know, we have a very different experience and approach to Kendo than those kids do. Like if you're at Kyushu Gakuen and you're like the part of the regular team or any of the other like Toyin Gakuen or whatever, or Hori, anything like that, and you're like one of the regulars, and whilst you're in the second year, you were like properly killing it. Like that's all you've done in your life up to that point, right? You got into high school based on your Kendo ability, and your progression is naturally into a Kendo related career. And that Kendo related career is often decided on what happens in your final year, and in terms of the Shiai performance that you have. And you know, for these kids where they're in that situation where they're sort of in the third year, and they're sort of, these Shiai are what's gonna decide their future. You know, and these rules mean that those compromises have to be made so that the Shiai can go ahead, and that it won't just sort of destroy the future of these kids. Then yeah, I get it. Like I say, I hope it's temporary. I'm sure it is. I don't see them removing Tsubazariai and Hikiwaza from Kendo as a whole, and I certainly hope that they don't. Next one, with your constant release of new Bogu designs, can you share any that have never made it into production for one reason or another? Ooh, I don't know about that. Actually, I can't, because it doesn't really work like that. That isn't really how the Bogu design process works. Now, if you watch the video that I did about how I designed the Kendo Bogu, which is where we designed the Vanguard Special Edition last year, you'll see exactly how I go about the process. Now, the thing is, and what you'll probably notice if you've watched that video, is for the most part, the design's already finished in my head before I even put it down to paper, all right? And I'm at the point in my career now, I've done this for a long time. I've designed lots of Bogu over the years. And, you know, without trying to sound arrogant here, but I know what I'm doing. I know what makes a good Bogu set. So I generally get an idea or some sort of inspiration as to what the kind of concept of the Bogu will be. And I know how to achieve that. I know what tools I've got available in terms of how we're going to achieve that. So it's not often that I'll get, you know, a Bogu that doesn't make it to market, because I've already cut out all of the rubbish before it gets that far, and even if there are changes made, it's usually made sort of in a quite minor way. I'll give you an example. Actually, is one we did do was with the new Victory that came out at just the other week. Awesome Bogu set. We made two versions of that. We made one with the hybrid stitching that we've got, and we made one with the cross pitch style stitching that we use on the Kaisei Bogu. So, you know, we looked at them both. I felt that the hybrid stitching, which is where you have the 3mm lines and then you have a 6mm gap, which gives a bit of a cushion. I felt that gives a little bit more protection, and I thought it looked nicer for the Bogu set, and I thought that it fit in with the overall lineup of the range at KendoStar as well. So that's why we went in that direction with that. And it's not just me either. I don't just do this on my own. I mean, the Victory, for example, the Victory is a good example actually, because, you know, a lot of the ones are me designing them, but the Victory we collaborated with some competitive players in Japan, some police players in Japan, so who were like all Japan level players, and sort of got their, not so much the feedback, because they know a lot about how to play the really good Shiai, but they don't know that much about how to design the Bogu. They know what they like in the Bogu, so we would instead sort of say, well, you know, these are the sort of ideas, you know, look at this, and then, oh, well, you want it to be like that. Well, here's how we'll make it like that. And then we made it in that sort of process. And then when it came to between the two in the end, we went with the hybrid stitching because it doesn't sacrifice anything but gives extra protection. So that was that. But yeah, I don't have like, oh, this is a Bogu set that's like completely different to anything you've ever seen, but didn't make it to market. Like we don't, the process just doesn't work like that, I'm afraid. So sorry. Okay, nearly there. Next one. Hi, Andy. What's the most important point to take into account to pass 4th Dan exam? So I get these questions quite a lot on here, don't I? How to pass this Dan or that Dan. 4th Dan is a big hurdle for a lot of people because up to 3rd Dan, you're examined mainly on your technical ability, all right? On your ability to make strikes that meet the criteria of Yu Kodatotsu, the valid strikes, and made with Kentai no Ichi, so sword, body, and spirit unified together as one. For 4th Dan, that's the first stage where you've got to show a bit more than that. Obviously, you've got to be able to do that as well, but you have to show that your attacks now have some sort of DI. Now, DI means rationale. In other words, reason for existing. So, you can't just throw attacks out there randomly now. You have to have some sort of reason as to why you're selecting the attacks you're selecting. That's the sort of first step towards a sort of deeper level of Kendo, and I think that's what they're looking for at 4th Dan. And in a lot of ways, yeah, it's sort of that's the first step then where it's beyond just technical ability, and I really do think that that's the difference, is that that DI, that reason for making your attack. So obviously your semi, how does your opponent react to you, and why are you using the waza that you're using? It's not easy, but I'm sure you'll manage it. Okay, last one. Hi, Andy. Now you've experienced running your first Zoom class, and excellent it was too. Thank you very much. What things did you prefer or find easier compared to a real in the dojo practice, and what things did you find more difficult or less enjoy? Well, that is a good question. It was very challenging to do a Zoom class. First time I've done it, obviously, and hosted it in that way. I've done it as a guest before, but I never hosted my own. And in terms of what I found easier or prefer, I'd say it's nowhere near as good as doing Kendo in the dojo, of course. But one thing that it does have over doing Kendo in the dojo is that I get to practice with more people and a wider spectrum of people, and I really like that. I think it's great that, like yesterday in that Zoom practice, there was people in there that under other circumstances I would have never probably got the chance to practice with. So that is a really fantastic thing. The downside, of course, though, is that everyone's separated. So although we've got all those wonderful people from all over, it's not just a bit harder for me to sort of teach and advise, but you miss that kind of, I think that the sort of connection between each other is also quite important. So yeah, that sort of atmosphere isn't quite the same, is it? So yeah, and of course you can't do paired practice, so that's what it is, though. But yeah, it was a great experience, and yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it, and yeah, I'd definitely like to do it again. So that's it. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and the other thing that I've not been telling you recently, don't forget, click subscribe and ring the Kendo bell. The bell that appears after you click subscribe. If you ring that, it's scientifically proven that you'll get better at Kendo. Honest. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you all next time. Shop at KendoStar. Bye bye.